Okay. So after posting the Friends with Benefits video, I got a question about, how long should you wait to have sex? All these things, because I don't want to give that to somebody without it being in a relationship. And I am not saying that you shouldn't have your own integrity and your own standards around things like that. What I want to address is the idea of somehow being diminished after sharing yourself with somebody, and this is a fairly deeply ingrained, sort of visceral, cellular feeling and belief, and so I'm certainly not going to change that for you in one conversation. But I want to raise some awareness around potentially where that issue comes from. So let's say 10,000 years ago, right? When women became property, right? We were no longer tribal, and we were no longer sharing ourselves with the tribe and sort of, getting all of the good qualities of all the men in the baby, and having affection and care and belonging with an entire tribe. We became, this is my wife, this is my property, therefore we know paternity, because on a biological level we don't actually know paternity. So without modern testing. So we know paternity. So all the children in this lineage, they're mine, and they tend my farm. And so what that did was to sort of take women's sexuality and put it in a box and say it belongs to this man. So her whole reproductive system, her whole sexuality belonged to her man, owner, husband. So this not only oppressed women's sexuality, but it repressed men and women, because everybody's now living out of their nature. And according to religion, you should be living out of your nature, because anything that base is not pure, and not you're gonna be punished for it forever, for eternity. So to the point that women became the whole history of the vibrator is that women were anxious, hysterical, depressed, all of these things. So they'd literally go to the doctor for an orgasm, and the doctors got kind of tired, and so they invented the vibrator. This is real shit, people. And so we're now dealing biologically, spiritually, emotionally outside of the norm for sex, because we have sex for a lot of reasons. We have sex for friendship, we have sex for alliance, we have sex for connection, we have sex for reproduction, we have sex for stress relief, we have sex for fun. So again, that is not to say that you, in your integrity, need to be super casual about sharing yourself. What I'm trying to help you with is the awareness that your desire is a mutual need among males and females of our species. And so when we say and virginity is not even a real thing. There's no biological consistency to the hymen or to virginity. And if you look it up, you can find out that the hymen is sort of a leftover. When the fetus turns into a male or a female, the parts are the same. They arrange differently, right? So the hymen's sort of this leftover thing, and there's no biological consistency to it. There's no physical difference in you before or after, right? You lose your virginity because there's no consistency to when and how or even if the hymen breaks. That's not even a real thing. That's, again, another thing to try to say, oh, this person is pure, blah, blah, blah. So where was I going with this? Okay, so the notion, right, that the woman is somehow diminished in the sex act itself not only disempowers women because even in your receiving, even in your receptiveness of the sex act itself, you feel that you are giving and you are giving away. And I'm not saying that you're not giving, but it's energetically only one way, and you're sort of being taken from. This also disempowers the man to give. So because what he's giving is not really being received. And if you've ever been in a healthy, happy sexual relationship and felt the natural giving and receiving, yin yang experience, and you're like, wow, this doesn't, gosh, I don't feel shame. And as a man, you're like, I don't actually feel guilt for wanting to have sex with this woman that I love. That's like my love language. It's how I show my love. Then you know there is a beautiful organic naturalness to what men and women get out of the sex act together. And so, but when we look at it as diminishing for the woman, and now we're literally shaming men for their sexuality too, because any man who respects women and loves women is like, I'm doing a bad thing by taking this from her. It fucks it up for everybody. So now we've pitted, literally on a very basic biological level, pitted men and women against each other as though they have different agendas in relationship and in connection, when in fact men and women both ultimately want security and consistency and love. And we used to get security and consistency and love from an entire village. And I don't just mean sexually, I mean belonging. I mean feeling like we belong to something, feeling like we could cuddle up to somebody or touch somebody or pet their head or like do anything with any other than one human being, right? So we're even touch starved in our culture, let alone sex starved. So if you can, for a few minutes a day, just remind yourself that you are whole and complete, and that you are undiminished by sharing yourself, even if it doesn't turn into a relationship, even if you kind of made a bad choice, like, yeah, it happens. But that's about your heart and your mind and your soul and your body figuring out, well, then what do I want next time? And what were those red flags? And maybe maybe there was something I wasn't listening to myself. And that was an experience that didn't really feel the way that I wanted to feel. I'm no less from it, but I would like something different. And that's it. That's it. You are whole and perfect and infinite and worthy of love, no matter what your past experience. And think about what you would tell somebody that you love who maybe had a bad sexual experience, or maybe a bad relationship, or shared themselves with somebody who didn't honor and respect them. You would tell them that has no effect on their worth, right? Has no effect on your worth. Your value is right here as an infinite being. So I'm happy to, email me, Sophie at sophievenable.com. If you have any comments about this, or you can leave comments below. I'm here to answer questions, and I hope you'll stay in touch. You can find me at sophievenable.com. Okay. Mwah.